Woo! Hocus Pocus. It's our latest costume. And we have all kinds of details to show. And we're going to be talking about how this costume works, how it goes together, all the little details between the Sanderson sisters, the trees, lights, a little Hocus Pocus, graveyard, wheel covers, the black flame candle, even Binks the cat, and a giant cauldron with a special surprise inside. So this is our latest costume for Halloween. Had a little girl who wanted a Hocus Pocus themed costume. So let's see how this all goes together. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice is this back, which has the moon at the top that says Hocus Pocus, some trees, graveyard, and the way it attaches to the back, this is actually not the wheelchair that it goes on. So we've kind of fubbed it a bit in order to get this to display right. But if you notice, back there, way in there, yep, that little piece actually rests on some bars. There's another one on the other side that rests on some bars that stick out in the back of the little girl's wheelchair. And so those set on top of those bars, and then we would zip tie those down. Then we have these poles that come up, these PVC poles, like right here, and they come up all the way up to the moon. She has some poles on the back of her chair that we can zip tie these to kind of stabilize the whole thing. So that's kind of the frame. And then we have the graveyard, the tombstones in the back, little rats kind of crawling around. Then we have these trees, and these trees actually light up. We're going to try and show some footage of them lit up as well. Also keep in mind, I'm using orange zip ties here, not what we would send with the costume, but it's so that you guys can see it much easier as to where we've zip tied it and things like that. But these little trees, they take batteries, and they have a little switch on the bottom of them, and so you can turn them on, and all the little lights in them are purple lights. So it kind of gives a creepy look of weeping willows in the background behind the child. And so those will all light up. There's also a battery pack in here that controls the lights in the moon. And so the moon will all light up as well. And there's different settings. You can push the button on the battery pack multiple times to get different types of twinkling or flashing, whatever the child would like it to look like. So those will control the lights inside the moon. And the moon, here, let's talk about that. The moon is actually made of plexiglass that has then been sandblasted to be frosted. And then we have some white foam that goes around the edge to seal it off, that actually allows light to come through it. And you can kind of see, maybe not, see inside. It's two pieces of plexi, and the PVC poles go up in between it, and the moon is actually velcroed to the PVC. Then we come down here and we have two custom-made wheel covers. We have a Hocus Pocus one, and the other side says Trick or Treat. And these are actually wood, little pieces of wood that are then have Velcro straps on the back of them. And we have three thick, big, long Velcro straps that will wrap around the child's wheelchair. Child actually has mag wheels on her chair, and this chair that we're using has spokes, but these big Velcro straps work for either. And you just kind of wrap it around, and it Velcros to itself. So you can do that on both wheels. Here's what the other one says, Trick or Treat, looks like that. So these were all custom made, painted by our group at our workshop. And then we come around to the front of the moon, and we have the Sanderson sisters and their little Hocus Pocus broom company. So all three of these, and these are all just Velcro to the moon. That way, after Halloween, the child can take the characters off and can play with them. She can keep them for herself. And they come with a little miniature cauldron that they sit in. So we're including that as well. But she gets to keep those. There's also Binks in front, which is also plush. He is also just kind of strapped on with zip ties, so he can be taken off and played with as well. So we try and give the child some things that they can use after Halloween. Then we have this front PVC piece that attaches in 2 sections to the wheelchair. Like I said, we would typically use black zip ties, but I wanted to show where these attach. So we have these 2 pieces, one on top, put that one on first. I like to do a figure 8 around it so that it crosses over itself and it won't be able to slip off the sides. So it stays on, and do that on both sides. Yeah, it's on the other side as well. But you put the top 2 on first, and then you put the bottom 2 on, and once those are strapped on, it's locked on really well. There's poles underneath that cross under, and they have Velcro on them. So the cauldron is actually an inflatable cauldron, a 2-foot cube size inflatable cauldron that is Velcroed to those poles, so it won't come off. Then we have like the black flame candle, which is just battery operated. You turn the little knob on the bottom and the flame lights up. We have one on both sides so that you can see it no matter which side of the costume you're on. Like I said, we've got banks up here, and then on this side we have the book. So we had some volunteers make this book for the costume. Did a great job. It's all made out of foam. It's incredibly lightweight, and it's just stuck on, slid onto a pole. So there's just a hole in the very bottom of the book that goes in the center. That way, you can take it off and use it as decoration later. So you have that, and then the other black flame candle. And then there's one other thing that is in here. Now, this is something that we're including. We did not put it together because it's all so compact in this box, but it is a light up cloud that will actually fit on top of the cauldron. And so she'll have this giant cloud of smoke, and it all lights up, and she can control the lights, has a little remote with it and things like that. So we left that for the parents to put together, and then it will be ready for her cauldron. Now on Halloween night, she can take this off and she can fill this with candy. So that's her big candy bucket, big giant cauldron of candy. So that is going with her. But this costume is being shipped. And so, we wanted to make this costume very compact and able to come apart. So it all does break down quite a bit. We even have the frame in the front. There are screws that connect this pole down to this joint. There's a little screw right there. And there's one on the other side too. So when they get the costume, those 2 parts need to be screwed in together. And then once they're screwed in, it doesn't have to come apart. It was just so that we could ship it easier. And obviously you'll have to inflate the cauldron because we will deflate it before we ship it. But that's going to be one of the only parts. The other thing that will come apart is in the back. Let's see, where is it? This joint right here. So you have this part that comes from the bottom, comes up and goes across and back down. Right at this joint here, there are screws on the back. And so you'll want to screw those in. These top poles that go up to the moon will be detached. So you need to screw those in. And again, once you screw them in, you won't have to take them back apart. So they'll be ready to go. And everything can zip tie onto the chair. And then just turn everything on. Batteries will all be included. And it will be ready to let the child have a Hocus Pocus Halloween with the Sanderson sisters. So there you go. That is our Hocus Pocus costume, wheelchair costume from Walking and Rolling Costumes.